Some say third time's a charm, and mayoral candidate Alex White hopes there's some truth to that saying. The Green Party candidate is on his third run for mayor of Rochester. Why? Because he says things in the city are not getting better. From issues of poverty and minimum wage to public safety and tax breaks, White says he has a vision that will bring change to some of the city's long-standing issues if he's elected. Alex White joins us now to talk about what makes him stand out among the pack of contenders in this year's race. Welcome back to the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me on.
So you were on earlier this month with Evan Dawson on Connections, and you said to Evan that you have a different idea of politics. And how so? I want to know, what is your idea of politics, and how do you think that that will benefit you in this campaign?
Well, so much politics is about organized parties. You know, we think of Democrats, we think of Republicans, we think that politics is about these big organizations. But it's not. Politics has to be about us. It has to be about us getting involved in our neighborhood, getting involved in our city so that we take ownership. And until we do, things aren't going to get better.
I know that you are actively involved getting into the community, meeting with constituents, and I'm curious to know, what have you heard so far in terms of voters and whether it's hopes or concerns that you did not hear maybe in the mayoral elections of years past that you were a part of? Is there a new theme emerging among concerns or hopes?
Well, I think it's awfully cold.
In addition to that?
Yeah, the voters feel that, voters are very afraid of Trump. And voters feel that things are not really going to change locally. And I think that this is one of the biggest tragedies, because in November, the voters are going to hold the key to an actual change in their hands. They can make things different. And different may be scary, like it was at the presidential election. And different may be bad. But they believe the same old things are not going to help. And that is pretty much what I've been saying all along. And if you look at it, we've been doing the same thing for years.
What are some of those things when you say the same thing?
The city has a lot of stuff that it has to do that's maintenance stuff, picking up the trash, cleaning the roads, taking care of the parks. But then the city has things that it's not required to do. And we've been cutting many of those services that help people: library hours, recreation center hours, pathways to peace. I mean, the list goes on and on to the things we no longer have, like teen court. And yet, we always seem to have money for developers to build new buildings. So in the last 4 years alone, we've given away $56 million in cash. I mean, bags of cash to developers to build housing. This isn't creating jobs. And you got to remember, Rochester has lots of housing, so much that we have thousands of vacant houses. And yet, we're paying people to build more. And then we're giving them hundreds of millions, $350 million in tax breaks, so that the city isn't getting any more money for the services it needs.
I know that the tax breaks issue, that's a big one for you, and that's something that, if elected as mayor, you would put an end to that. But I want to know, how would you respond to those who say tax breaks, they're a good incentive to bringing in new businesses or to having businesses relocate to the city of Rochester, and that could potentially help to stimulate the local economy?
I would say that they need to do more study on that. For example, we gave huge tax breaks to Erie Harbor, a apartment complex built for $50 million, and yet they pay about $7,000 in taxes. Okay, on a property that probably should be paying around $2 million, about $2 million in taxes. So this hasn't created jobs. This built apartments for people who are paying more for their apartment in 6 months than that complex is paying in taxes in a year. And this isn't creating jobs. What this is doing is taking money that's being paid for rent and taking it out of the economy. It's sending it to wherever the owner is. And he's spending that money where he is rather than having it spent here. So we're getting poorer as a result of this. It's simple economics.
I know tax breaks, they're off the table for you in terms of growing the local economy.
It
What
ha-
is your game plan, though?
But
What
it
is
hasn't
your-
worked.
What is your
I'm
game
sorry.
plan to increase employment?
We need so many jobs. And there are so many things that could use assistance, like the OASIS program, which provides job training to people in in-demand fields like certified nursing assistants. This program is desperate for more assistance, a little bit more money, so that it can take more people into their programs. We need job training. But the real reason why we can't create the businesses we need is that poverty robs people of assets. And assets allow you to do things like go to school or start a business. And starting a business will require capital investment and in the people here. And we need to look at things like microloans. We need to look at co-op businesses as ways to organize and get capital together and people together to create jobs.
So currently, you have said this on your website or on your Rochester greenrochester.org that the largest employer of students in the city of Rochester are drug dealers, and you say that many who do not work for them resort to crime. And you want to guarantee that every student who passes their grade gets a summer job. How would you do that at a time when you say we're lacking employment opportunities?
I've talked to a lot of business owners as a business owner myself. And one of the things I've asked them is, would you like to have more people, could you use an extra employee? And they always say, yeah, but I don't know if it'll work, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think if the city reaches out to the small businesses and local employers that are already here and offers to pay half the salary of a summer employee, who they hire for 20 hours a week for 10 weeks during the summer, I bet you a lot of them, most of them will take that. And some of them will figure out how to keep that employee when summer ends. And those that, if we don't have enough jobs that way, we can increase rec center hours, we can increase library hours, we can do cleanup at the park. Drive down many of the streets, look at the vacant lots that are in our neighborhoods that are just filled with trash. This is an opportunity to me, not a problem.
I want to stick with young people for just a moment. And you mentioned, in terms of your campaign priorities, you talk about how the city and the school district really needs to work together to better fund education in Rochester. What would your role, if elected, how does the role of mayor look for you when it comes to addressing the disparities that exist in our education system? Are you in the front seat moving these efforts forward, or are you in the back seat supporting the efforts?
The mayor's job in our education system, the way it's set up, is to provide funding. That's what the city does. Unfortunately, every other district can raise taxes if they need more money for their district. In Rochester, the city has refused to give the school district any more money since 2004. As a result, you're not expecting to buy a car for the same price you did in 2004, 12 years ago, and we're still giving them that same amount of money. We have basically deprived them of 30% increase in that funding, which isn't the whole total cost of education.
So you would want to increase
but it's
that
basically
119?
the gap that we have every year is this shortage because we haven't done even a 1% increase per year. And we will have to find a way to increase and make that up so that we can have the arts programs, the music programs, the preschool programs that actually make a difference and keep kids in school and get them better results.
Alex, we've got about a minute left, and I wanted to know, if elected on day one, what would be your first order of business?
I believe the first thing I would want to do is I would want to start planning and putting in place the teen employment program, because that would be January, and I want that in place almost right away, because making it so that the teens are not looking to the drug dealers is probably one of the best things we can do to clean up our city.
Well, as viewers know, we've been inviting all the candidates in the 2017 mayoral race to join me at the table, so I appreciate you being here. I'll be asking all of you to join me together in the near future to answer questions from you, the viewers, and to further lay out your game plan for the city moving forward. So you can learn more about the campaign of Alex White. Just go to greenrochester.org.